So welcome to evening 2. How many people are here tonight for the first time? Oh, cool. Awesome. So the lungs actually are on their way. I've been directed to do a little meditation to maybe get everybody's minds ready for the class. Of the people who were here last night, how many actually tried to do the experiment of the fuzzy bear thing? Raise your hands. Was it hard? Easy? Anybody? You want? Fun? I had a hard time. I didn't try, but I always seem to get to this point where like this thing comes up inside and doesn't want to do much more. It's like well, what he was saying, how we were talking, there's like this, you just decide you put this line on somebody. And then you do it, and then I get to a wall where I'm like, oh, but not that hard. And it was hard, but I think the karma of trying always seems to be the thing that actually breaks through those walls. That's just my own experience. So I did give it a try. So if everybody could get in a comfortable meditation position, just to kind of get your back straight. If you're comfortable, if it's too much, you can give permission to lean back against your pew. I don't think they were designed for meditation. When we were in Ireland, the only place I could go to be quiet, because I was staying in a hostel, was the churches. And it was like totally incredible. So you guys are planting amazing seeds for the parishioners to come here tomorrow morning. Seriously, the changes, you can tell when a church has been created as soon as you walk through the doors. And you feel that a lot in Ireland. I do, personally. So close your eyes. Comfortable meditation position, what's best for you. You can put your hands on your hand, it's just a really easy meditation. That's not me though. Oh, cell phone is off. Right. Everyone do that real quick. And just gently close your eyes, if that's comfortable for you. You can leave a little open. Make sure you tell them that roof of your mouth and your teeth. That'll allow some of the saliva to sort of go down your throat to keep it from being too dry. And kind of lift your shoulders up for a second and kind of let it go down. Up, and just let it out. No attention. Forget about the day. It's over. You're here. Any tension in your body, just sort of let it go. And begin to exhale through your nose, out, and then in. Very gently, don't force it. Just very gently let it go out and in. I like to imagine like you're in the ocean, and the ship's coming in and out. Just allow it to, if you're sitting at the port, just watching the boat come in and out. Just very gently. Just allow yourself to become centered and allow yourself to be here. And just notice that maybe your out breath is a little shorter or your in breath. Very gently. Try to even out. Sometimes you put a little count. I have about 3 out breaths and 2 in breaths. Just very gently try to make them both 3. That's your capacity. Every time your mind gets distracted by the outside noise, just bring your mind back and allow it to be in this space here, this holy church, with these holy teachings. And if you have a teacher or some sort of mentor, a guide, invite them to come and sort of sit with you now, maybe sit in front of you. Could be anybody, Jesus, Gandhi, His Holiness, dilemmas. Sometimes I think of my brother, who's been an inspiration to me. They're going to help guide us tonight. We always say, imagine them, what would they be like in their perfect form? You know, they're like a divine being who's been pretending to act as a normal person in your life. What might they look like as a divine being? I try to think of my one brother as when he was about 17. Young, youthful, strong, healthy, and full of compassion. Made of light, not like me. Most beautiful thing you can imagine. And when your lessons are come, they always there. And then imagine yourself sitting here, and there's the general shape of your body, but the inside, try to display that allow yourself to imagine that you're no more skin, no blood, nuts and bone, but the inside rather is just color of the sky, beautiful blue sky. And you just start from the tip of your head and kind of work your way down, all the way to your toes. And every time your mind goes to something else or doesn't want to believe that there's not a bone there, you just tell yourself, oh, we're just playing. Just imagine. I give you permission to imagine right now. And the whole point of the teaching is to be able to extend this idea of meaning. Like I was saying, for me, I tend to have this wall and trying to break through. And so think of somebody that you could listen to these teachings tonight for. Maybe somebody who's ill, everybody has, listening to me as MS. Somebody you could really benefit. Like, I'm going to listen to these teachings tonight. And who's the one person that you could teach this to? Think about one person, bring them to sit, next to Lamas as well. I'm just saying that, hey, I'm gonna try to really break through this idea, this mental image I have of myself of having this mind. And tonight I'm going to incorporate you. I'm going to put my mind around you tonight. So I'm going to listen to you tonight. I'm going to pay attention for you tonight. I'm going to put this into practice for you tonight. Just look at him in the eye. Tell him, I'm going to do this for you. Imagine this white light shines from your heart and totally fills you up, completely, full of love. Start to shoot up through your pores and your screens, every direction. And just allow it to encompass this one person. And if it's true that your happiness comes from taking care of someone else, then they're you to that. You can say that's me. And take your teacher or mentor. Ask them to come into your heart. They rise up. Those sitting on the top of your head. They turn and face the same direction as you. But imagine getting down to the size of maybe an inch or so, or a miniature version, and say, I need help with this. I want to break through. I want to learn to incorporate you as me. They always agree. And just imagine turning to a little bit of white light, enter into your head. And imagine at the level of your heart, the center of your chest, a little bit towards the back where your spine used to be, there's a little room. You put a little cushion there, maybe some flowers. Sometimes I imagine a cliff, and then they're overlooking the ocean. Some room that anyone would like to sit. And you lower down, and you come to sit in that little room. And they're going to help you. They're going to help you extend this idea of what's the meaning. Align yourself with your friend. Make another deal. You're me today. But very gently go back to watching your breath. And very, very gently at your own time, you can allow your eyes to open. Just briefly, so long earlier, and we thought we would say just a few things about them as a, I always think as a unit. That is not a good way to describe it. We always said yesterday, if you're me, if she's me, what do you call us now? So, these are just a few of the things as a me, I guess, as the Lamas have accomplished. Working together, right, to extend the idea throughout the world. They're the founders of Asian Classes Institute, which is taking these ideas and teaching them to a group of students who want to really delve into the philosophy of all these teachings. They founded the Asian Classes Institute Project, which is saving all the books in order for us to get the teachings. Founders of DMU, University.
Also SID, spiritual partners. They carry their teachings around the world and their study institute. They author many books, including The Diamond Cutter and How the River Works, and 2 new books which are coming out shortly. And they'll be leading a whole group of students in 2010 into another 3-year retreat. So we're all looking forward to that as well. And we can welcome Geshe Roach and Christine Sanders.
So tonight we got the treat of hearing the football game to our window. And we thought you'd all be there and we could just go home. She said it's not the same crowd. So we're going to review what we were doing yesterday. This is Spiritual Partner Talk number 59. And we had thought that a nice topic would be from Master Shantagama, who lived, how many years? 13 centuries ago, 1300 years ago. And he wrote a book called Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life. How to be a Bodhisattva. And then in the 8th chapter, he teaches about meditation. And he starts out the chapter, as we said yesterday, in a very beautiful fantasy of going off into the desert or into the forest on your own and just meditating and giving up all your hassles and all your life and all the problems and all the noisy people and all the football games. Just go off into the forest and meditate. And then he what should you meditate on? You know? And then he gets into this idea that we talked about yesterday. So I'm going to review the idea. It's a little weird, as most great ideas are. Okay? It's this. If everything is karma, right? For example, let's say, let's say, you know, we just did a 6-day yoga course in Mexico. And you know, everybody who comes, they either want to look good, or they want to be healthy. Most people want to be thin. The guys want to have muscles. You know, the girls want to lose their padding in different places. And so we gave a 6-day course in yoga, and it's a very special kind of yoga. It was invented by a lady named Niguma, who was the partner of Naropa, who lived 1,000 years ago. So I believe it's probably the most ancient yoga series of which we have any record. And it also is the only one designed by a woman in ancient times. And it's a very beautiful series. And so for 6 days we taught how Niguma did her yoga. And it's also special because this kind of yoga, her yoga was meant to remove your negative emotions. So for example, if you have a problem with jealousy, you should do a certain kind of twist. If you have a problem with anger, you should do a certain kind of back bend, and things like that. It's very beautiful that way. It's a very beautiful series. But you know, we got about halfway through the series, and then we were trying to explain to people something strange, which is that the yoga doesn't do anything for you. You know, and that yoga can't help you with anything. You see, yoga, just doing exercises doesn't help you. Many people go to a yoga class and they get hurt. And they hurt their neck, or they hurt their shoulder, and they never come back, you know. And so, it's not the yoga that's making you thin or strong or making you look good or like that. There's something behind the yoga, or there's something below the yoga. And that's, we say, all things in the world have a moral foundation. All objects, all people, all events in the world are driven by how well we take care of other people. And only that. So for example, if you're doing Niguma's yoga series, if you have been taking care of the sick and the elderly, the series will work for you. And you'll do a stomach twist and suddenly your jealousy will be better. You see? And if you haven't been helping the sick and the elderly, and you do the same yoga exercises, then you hurt yourself. You see? So, how does that work exactly? You know, we have to talk about how that works. And we didn't talk much about it yesterday. But when I go to a hospital, or I go to a hospice, and there's an elderly man there, and he's sick, and he can't touch his feet. He needs someone to massage his feet, or the blood will stop, right? And his feet will be cut off, right? When there's a man like that, when I go to that place, when I go to the hospice, and I reach out my hands, and I touch his feet, and I start to massage his feet, then something happens in my own mind, you see? A seed is planted in my own mind. A seed for seeing things. A seed for my own body to be healthy. You see? And that's the only place that help comes from. And health doesn't come from eating the right food. Health doesn't come from eating vitamins. Health doesn't come from yoga. It comes from serving other people's bodies. One big question on that, okay, that you should understand. If you serve other people's bodies, vitamins that work, yoga that works, organic food, and veggie burgers at McDonald's. Today we went to McDonald's. They had apple, walnut, spinach salad at McDonald's, you know. One thing you have to realize, when you take care of other people's bodies, the way expresses itself, the way the karma expresses itself to you, is that suddenly things are healthy in your world. You see? So yoga was created, the craze of yoga in the United States was created by taking care of other people's bodies. You see? And if there's a disease in the meat, what do they call it? Perfect mouth something, right? If there's a disease, that means suddenly people can't eat that meat. It's because you have harmed other people's bodies, you see? So, it's not as simple as saying, you don't have to do yoga or you don't have to eat well. You see what I mean? It's not that simple. If you help other people's bodies, if you serve other people's bodies, then yoga will appear in your country. And there will be a yoga studio on every corner. And when you go to that studio, it will be good for you. You see? And organic food will take off in your city, and there'll be a Whole Foods market next door. You created them. And they are the expression of touching the old man's feet and massaging his feet. They are the result of massaging the old man's feet. And then they make you happy. Get it? So there's an instrument of your karma. Your karma needs some way to express itself. And the karma creates the Whole Foods store. And the karma creates the vitamins and the yoga. Get it? So yeah, you do yoga, but it's not active. It won't work on you until you take care of other people. So what's that got to do with this first verse? Here's the first verse. It says, anyone who really wants to quickly reach some shelter for themselves and every other being must exchange themselves and others, must carry out the very highest and every secret practice. So they're talking about shelter. This is talking about shelter. And I think about it a lot. You see, shelter implies something bad has happened to you. Something is threatening you. You have a problem, right? And it could be a physical problem. Maybe you hurt your knee, maybe you hurt your back. It could be an emotional problem. Maybe you feel upset, you feel angry. It could be you can't sleep. Something like that. But we all have problems all day long. We all face problems. So if you don't understand karma, if you don't understand where things are coming from, then you try to manipulate things outside of it. You know, I don't feel so good, maybe I'll take an aspirin. You know, or I don't know, I feel jealous, so this person that I'm jealous of, they should go away. Like, I should try to get them to go away. Like, we try to manipulate outside objects to protect ourselves from things we don't want or things we don't like. So, for example, if you can't sleep, then you have 5 different ways of thinking, well, I'll take a walk. And if that doesn't work, I'll eat 3 bags of large bags of McDonald's fries. We only ate 2 this afternoon. And then we went home and almost threw up. Anyway, and if that doesn't work, then I'll break down and take the medication that my dad's been taking for years. You know, like I'll try one of my dad's pills. You know, like that. If I'm really desperate, I'll try one of my dad's pills. Then you end up like your dad, right? You end up that you can't sleep without the pills. You see? So you have taken shelter, or you have taken protection in this outer thing, in this outside thing. Does it work? We never took a sleeping pill in our lives until 3-year retreat. And then it's a very intense experience. It's 1,000 days in deep retreat. You're meditating for like 8 or 10 hours a day. And then you get wacky, you get a little crazy. Like the meditation and the sleep starts to become indistinguishable. And then you're thinking like, oh, I don't have to sleep tonight. And you kind of don't sleep all night. And then after the 3rd day of that, you start acting really weird. And you just start going cuckoo. And then you're like, oh, I really should sleep a little bit. And then we have all these, we wrote a letter to the caretakers, send us something to make us sleep. And they sent organic things and herbal things and, what's the other thing? You don't touch the pill and you have to take it. Homeopathic, and then, non-prescription, over-the-counter, American plain old drugs, and then prescription or drugs. We tried all 5. And nothing happened. I mean, it was just random. And some kind of malaria.
That was the word.
That was the word. That keeps you awake.
Yeah, that's the
but they just didn't work. And nothing worked on us, and at all. Or sometimes it would work, and you'd feel dead for like 3 days, and you just feel like you're drugged for 3 days. And the point is that the thing is not working. You see, the pill doesn't work. You see, so what should you do? Well, actually, it's like this: the pill works sometimes, and the pill doesn't work sometimes, right? The pill works sometimes, and different pills work at different times. Like it's not like you find one that works all the time. Some of them work some of the time, and they're not the same ones every week. Like that. No, that's true. You know that's true. It's true for your own headaches and things like that. And you're still looking for the real medicine. And the ads on the TV, they're still saying this is the real one. And why do they say it's the real one? Because it's not the real one. You see, if it were the real one, people would have figured it out, and people would be taking that for the last 50 years or whatever. They have to say it's the real one because none of them works all the time. So they have to claim that they're the one that works. Because they're not. Okay? So anyway, you take shelter. You're looking for help in this object, in this pill, you see? And it's not our goal to sit up here and say, don't take sleeping pills. You should. If you need to, you should. What we're trying to say is, what gives the pills their strength? What gives the pill their efficacy? What makes them work, right? Is whether or not you have thought or had any concern for other people who can't sleep. You see? Have you had any concern? Have you had any interest in the welfare of other people who can't sleep? Because that's what charges the sleeping pill. That's what makes the sleeping pill work. You see? So, how does this apply to you? How is this shelter? When you can't sleep, when you're laying in the bed and you can't sleep, then think of someone else who can't sleep. That's all. Just think of anybody else who can't sleep. And wish them well. Just think of them and send them your good wishes and your prayers. Somebody in my neighborhood tonight, we're in the Sam Hughes neighborhood. Somebody in the Sam Hughes neighborhood can't sleep tonight. I don't know which house you're in. I don't know which direction it's in. But I hope you can sleep. And then we think of all the people we know who have insomnia, and we think of cradling them and putting them to bed and singing them a story, and giving them one of those positive things. And it's a very pleasant meditation. It's a very pleasant meditation. And then you can take a pill or you can not take a pill, but it will work. You see? And that's shelter for the things that you don't want. You see? When something hurts you, when you have problems, when you have trouble, don't think about yourself. You see? That's suicide. That will make everything not work. You see? Because there's no karma there. When you have trouble, any kind of trouble, then think of someone else who has that trouble. And just wish them well. Just think about them and pray that they are well. You see? And sooner or later that will inspire you to actually go to them and help them. You see? But it all starts from practice. It's like yoga. It's like you can't do certain yoga poses the first time you try them. So you imagine someone who can't sleep. And you pretend that you are helping them. You're tucking them into bed and you're singing them a song. And you're giving them a fuzzy... She likes this thing called a lamb chop. Like it's a little lamb thing. I like this bunny. That bunny looks like a little bit naughty. So we, imagine that you're giving them boing boing the bunny or lamb chop or lamb. And we were going to have them talk tonight. We were going to get up here and have them talk to each other tonight. I thought it was really cool. But she said before, but we were having fights and couldn't practice. So anyway, two things now. You have two things that will make your life happy. If you want something, if there's something good that you want, you know, like ice cream, okay? If you want ice cream, then according to this teaching, the only way to get it is to serve it to someone else first. Okay, so make sure, and I'm assuming they like it, okay? This is assuming they like ice cream, okay? But get ice cream to someone who likes it. And then the karma of that is that ice cream will come to you. You know, thou shalt have ice cream. And then, in a negative way, when you have any kind of pain, any kind of sickness, any kind of hurt in your heart, then just remember this much. Just remember this much. Think of someone else who has that problem. Just think of them. And suddenly your problem will go away. Okay? Because that's the power of wishing. That's the power of prayer. Okay? So now we've learned two things. We need other people if we're going to get the things we want. We also need other people if we're going to avoid the things we don't want. So probably what? Probably we need other people. Okay? No, really, okay? For good things we need them, and for the bad things we need them. We need other people. Okay? And we'll talk more about that.
Page 2. Every single harm that comes in this entire world, every fear that comes, and so too every pain that ever comes from grasping to myself. What use for me then is this, the single greatest demon? Until the day that you give up your own self, you will not be able to stop the suffering. Until the day that you let go of fire, you will not be able to stop your hand from burning. I love this verse because it's so, it's got such beautiful poetic imagery involved in it, you know. It's like, we are all screaming out in pain. Ouch! Ouch! It hurts! Ouch! Please make it stop! Ouch! It hurts! And yet, we don't let go of the thing that's hurting us, you know? Like we're holding on to this flame, you know? We're holding on to this thing that's burning us. And it's burning us alive. And we're like screaming in pain and we won't let go of it. You know? We won't let go of it. And that's the image that Master Shantideva gives for how we're holding on to the one thing that keeps bringing us pain again and again and again and again, which is grasping onto ourselves, right? So, you know, a normal human being who walks this earth, we have so much fear in our hearts all the time about the things that we want and about whether or not we're going to get them and about the things that we don't want and whether or not we're going to be able to avoid them, you know. So much fear all the time. You know, I just remember, you know, will I get the girl I like or the boy I like to like me back? And will I be able to get that job I want or that role in the school play that I want or whatever it is you want? You know, there's always this constant tension about whether or not we'll get what we want. And there's a fear inside of us because we don't know how to get what we want. You know, and we have so often gotten what we don't want. We so often experience pain, you know, like we don't get the way we want, or we don't get the role in the school play we want, or we do get it, but it doesn't turn out the way we thought it was going to, and then it still brings us pain, you know. So we've experienced pain, and so now we're in constant fear when is the next pain going to come around the next corner, because we don't know. We don't know what our future is going to bring us. And so it's like a normal human being is like a big ball of fear, walking around, trying to pretend that they're not afraid. And that's, that's someone who, as Geshe said, doesn't have any kind of shelter or refuge to go to. Someone who doesn't know how this world really works. Someone who is still grasping onto themselves. And this verse is saying, all that pain, every single pain you've ever had in your entire life, every single fear that you've ever had in your entire life, it all comes from one single thing. And that's this grasping onto your own stuff. We just won't let go. We just won't let go. And it's so painful. And we can't see it. And we continue to cling on and we continue to scream out. So there are two different senses of grasping onto a self. First is it's more general. It's about selfishness. Because we call it about selfishness. Putting ourselves first. So, thinking about only yourself, right? You could say that's the first general explanation of grasping onto yourself. So, what do we do instead of that? We put other people first, right? We put other people first. And this is really easy when we're talking about simple things like, letting somebody go out the door first. That's pretty simple. It's like, okay, I can put somebody else first when we're both walking through the door at the same time. Okay, you go first. It's not a big deal. It's not a big sacrifice. But what about if it's something that we really want for ourselves? You've been courting this girl for a while now. You think maybe she likes you, but then all of a sudden, they're in the corner, you see this girl talking to somebody else and she looks really happy. And what happens in your heart? What happens in your mind at that moment when you see that? What you really, really want this thing, So how are you supposed to let go of your own selfishness? How are you supposed to, if you don't understand the second concept of not grasping to yourself, when it's really hard, you'll break down. You won't be able to let the other person go first, because you won't understand why, right? You won't understand why. So we have to talk about what it means really to let go of your own self in that situation. Any ideas?
Fear.
You let go of your fear? How?
Losing focus.
I'm sorry, what about focus?
By losing focus.
Losing, you mean slip away? I don't really see that guy talking to that girl. I'm like, no, I'm just going to avoid it. No, is that what you mean? No, probably not. You have to be more specific. Or I can think of somebody else. Yeah, we talked about it last night. You think there's a line between you and other people. You think that there's a difference between getting something you want and somebody else getting something they want. And because you are focusing on that line, you are in constant pain all the time. And if you would just allow that line to break down, if you would just stop and realize that giving other people the things that they want will get you what you want. In fact, giving other people what they want is the only thing that will get you what you want. If you can break down that line and realize there is a connection here between those people's happiness and my happiness. And if I'm happy for them, happiness will come to me. That particular kind of happiness will come to me. If I deny that to them, if I deny that happiness to them, I will be denied that happiness, right? Because it always comes back to you, right? And there you are, looking at the person who you're supposedly infatuated with, who you want to, who you're claiming you want to have a partnership with, that you're going to experience true love with, and you don't want them to be happy. Seems sort of silly, right? Seems sort of silly not to want somebody else to be happy. We're going for ultimate happiness here. And we have to break down the lines between ourselves and other people. Of course you want them to be happy, of course. But you have to get that self, that grasping onto the self out of the way. Right? Then you look at the same picture. You look at the same image of these two people, and you say, wow, what a beautiful smile that she has right now. I'm so happy to see that, because I love her so much. And it's a totally different feeling. Totally different feeling if you get your own grasping to yourself out of the way. You can break down the walls between yourself and other people and experience true love. I mean, that's a kind of true love, right? Whether or not you are the one making her happy, you're happy that she's happy. And it's a beautiful thing, right? It's a beautiful thing. So, these walls, when they break down, you realize you have nothing else to fear. You have no more worries at all. When you let the walls down, there's no more fear. We were talking about yesterday about, why we should break down these walls between ourselves and other people if we can't feel the other person's pleasure or pain. We can't feel their own emotions. We can't feel, if somebody skins their knee, you can't feel it. So why should you care about their body as much as you care about yourself? But, I've talked to mothers in the audience during the break, and they come up to me and say, I can feel it. When my kid is in pain, I know it even if I can't hear them crying, I know it. I'm in the kitchen and they're out back and I can feel something has happened, and I run out the back door and I go to them because I can feel their pain. Right? And this is what happens when you start to break down the walls between yourself and other people. I know I've told some people the story before. I'm not sure if I've told this particular crowd, but we were at a Three retreat, and I know very, very soon after we got into the Three retreat, there were, how many kids? 5 different little yurts in the desert, right? 5 different group, people, 6 people, we were together, so 5 yurts. And very soon after, we realized that if one person couldn't sleep at night, they would send us these wawas. We call them wawas. And nobody could sleep. because you can feel the other person's not being able to sleep. And if somebody was upset, forget about it. You were upset because his wallahs were cooking, and it's like out of the blue. I was sitting there. I remember it was like 5:30 in the afternoon, and we had just finished the first half of our third session, and we were taking a break, and I don't know, we were going to do some lunches or something, and all of a sudden I got this incredible anxiety in my heart, just like out of the blue. I was so calm, I'm for your treat, like what do I have to be anxiety-ridden about? And there was no object. There was no object for me to have this anxiety about, but it's like my heart started beating faster and I started breathing weird, and I was like, what's going on and who's swallowing me? Because like after a while you start to figure it out, and you're like trying to figure it out which one of them was giving me this terrible emotion because I really pissed off about it, Like, is it you? Is it you? Is it you? And finally I figured out who it was, it was Petra. Like, this is Petra. What is wrong with her? Like you get this like, oh my God, she's feeling really weird right now. I'm like, what's happening? You're not allowed to go. You're not allowed to go see them because we're supposed to be in solitary retreat and we only see each other like once a month. So there I was, like not able to go to my friend Petra to figure out what was wrong with her, but I knew exactly what she was feeling because I could feel it in my very own heart. And I didn't know the details, I didn't know what was going on. And later I found out that she had just found out that her father was dying. And she went to go make a phone call to him that day. And she had to break the song to go make a phone call to her father. And that was the day that, boom, hit me. And I'll never forget about that moment, because we are not separated by our different bodies. And we are not separated by the edges of our skin. We've got an incredible capacity to feel other people and to place other people in our own circle with us. And it's up to us, the choice is ours, whether you want to be that kind of person or whether you want to be alone in your own little walled-up world. It's not very fun to have a heart that's locked with walls all around. It's very lonely. Let yourself expand, take a little risk. Make somebody else part of you. Like, open up the doors and say, hey, every single thing that you feel, I feel too. And I take responsibility for all of your pleasure and your pain, and I will help you, And it's a beautiful practice when you get yourself out of your own head and you stop worrying and you stop grasping onto yourself so much, and there's no more fear, and you're free. You're totally free.
Next page. It's one of my favorite verses. Thinking of yourself and saying, if I give, what will I have for me is nothing but demonic. To think of others and say, if I use this for myself, what will I give to them? This angel dharma. This is called Jetsun Haichen. Say Jetsun. Jetsun is acting like the devil. Haichen. Say Haichen. Haichen means acting like an angel, So we were just in Morocco. We talked about it last night. We went to try to make friends with the Arab world. And it worked, actually. And it was hard. But it worked really well. I mean, it really, really had fantastic results. But when you're in a country like Morocco, the average annual salary is $1,200 a year. So the average income in Morocco is $100 a month, right? And so, you know, a tourist of any kind shows up in Morocco, and you are like, I saw a list in Morocco. It was like, if you see a Japanese person, charge them 6 times. The thing is, if you see an American, charge them 5. And then there was, Europe was split into Northern Europe was 4, Southern Europe was 3. You know, double the price for anyone outside of Morocco. I saw a list like that, you know. I guess Japanese are more gullible than we are. They have more money, so, you know, I remember when we had to get a ride to the village where we were going, you know. So we were in Marrakesh, central Morocco, and we have to get to this little village called Bazou in the mountains. And so I asked around how far is it. Everybody says it's like 3 hours or something, right? So then the van shows up, you know, and we get in, and they drive us to the zoo, and we get out, and so we said, well, how much do you owe you? And they said 300. So I said, oh, 300 dirham. That's like $40. That's reasonable. He said, no, it's $300. US dollars, you know. And I'm like, you're gonna charge me it's $7 if you take you know, anyway, he's charging me 50 times the normal price or something like that. You know. And so what do? She knows.
Give him extra.
So I gave him $200 and I gave him $30 tip. You know,
yep.
Which is 2 weeks pay. You see? And Mama Christie still, I don't know why she still looks at me like, at least smile a little bit, you know. You can look at it in different ways. I think you can look at it in different ways, you know. I'm an American. I live in Arizona, you know. I make money, you know, money comes to me. I have lots of, I've always spoken about having enough money, you know. I mean, money comes to me, I don't have to worry about money. And the worst that could happen is that I only have $100 or $50, but everyone in this village has nothing. You know, the people in this village have nothing. You know, they grow in their house, in a courtyard in their house, they grow a garden. If it doesn't give the vegetables, they don't eat. You know, like they said, don't worry, your garden is stocked. And we're like, what? And they said, you know, the house we're in, we stocked the garden. What do you mean? We planted all the seeds, you know. You're going to get corn in the first week, you're going to get tomatoes in the third week, cucumbers are going to come out in the fourth week, you'll have a watermelon by week number 6. You'll be taken care of. You know, we said, well, can't you just buy it at the store? You know, they said, there is no store here. We just eat whatever grows in the garden. There is no store in Brazil. You can't buy these things in Brazil. You know, we're like, wow, you know, these people are living on nothing. They live on nothing. So in one point of view, for Geshe, Michael, and Mama Christie to give an extra $100. So what's the big deal? You know? Everyone in the country is poorer than we'll ever be in our whole life. You know? Everybody in the country is starving. You know? So give them it'll filter to somebody, you know? Give them an extra $100. Who cares? You know? What's the point of struggling? You know? Everyone's poor here. Give somebody some money and then they'll spread it to other people and you just raise the country by $100, you know? And you're not going to miss it. You're not really going to miss it. So this is a kind of basic generosity. Sort of a, what do you call it? Reasonable generosity. You know, they really badly need money. We have enough. We're just worried that we're going to eat too many French fries. You know, we're not worried that we're not going to get any food. You know, so give. You know, give to them. You see, that's level 1. Okay, and then level 2 is sort of more advanced. Level 2 says, they're over there, and I'm over here, but I'm a Buddhist. You know, I know where money comes from. You know, we'll have what we call strategic alliance. They will be the poor person, and I will be the generous person. And then I will give them $100. But very consciously, very aware, I'll take my time, I'll do it with a good heart. I'll give them, put $100 in his hand. You know? Why? Because I know very well I will have 1,000 for him. You know? And it's not just philosophy. You know? I've proved it with my life. I know how to get money. You know? I know how to get money. Really. Just give it to somebody. And the money will pour back. You know? If you do it with the right understanding, anyone can make more money than they have now. 10 times. At any given moment in your life, you give what you have, 10 times will come back. If you know what you're doing. So okay. So give. In a way, you are using them. You know? Mama Christie says, the guy took advantage of me. I'm like, what? I took advantage of him. He's like, just take my money, just take my money. He reach out his hand, I'm like, yeah, I almost got it. He's like, grabs the money, I'm like, yes! You know? I'm just saying $1,000, you know? You know, he's such a fool. To take my money. No, really, it's the truth. I'm not, you laugh because you don't believe it. You laugh because you don't believe it. But I think like that in my good moods, you know, when I'm in a good mood. I'm like, when I'm in a clear mood, I'm like, I'm understanding. I'm over here, he's over there. If he takes the money, I'm in Fat City. Like that. Okay? Really, really. But that's still not really the ultimate point of view, you see, because I'm still drawing a line between me and him. I'm still saying me and him. I'm still thinking me and him. I'm like Buddhist level 2. I'm medium level. You know, I understand that if I give money, I will get more money back. I got that far. But there's a higher level. And that's what we're talking about here. That's what you could call instant karma. Okay? Instantaneous karma. The way I just described, you have to wait like a week or 2 weeks or a month, or depends on how well you understand when you get the money. But there's a higher level. There's a higher level. And it's difficult. Okay? It's difficult. If I need him to get money for myself, if the only money I ever get in my life must be earned by giving money to others, right? Got it? If every penny I ever got in my life must be hard-earned by giving my money to someone else, then he is me. Okay? I can't be me without him. You see? So what's the difference between us? Where is there any more a difference in our goals or interests? You see? He wants money. He asked me for $300 for a $40 ride. You know? He wants money. I gave money. I know I'm getting back. How many people came out ahead? Both. You see, both. It's in both of our interests for me to give the money. He gets $300 immediately, plus I gave him 20 euros because I was out of dollars. Now, he used up my last $300. I'm like, here, take this 20 euros, you know? And so he came out ahead. And then I came out ahead. So who came out ahead? We came out ahead. Got it? When you give, it's not like he's different from you. It's not like only one person has to get the money. Both people get money. Got it? Both people come out. Which means we're not different. Which means we are one. You see? You gotta break through this. It's really hard to think. You know, if you didn't have a good dinner, you probably can't do it anymore. You know? Or some ice cream, right? Just after I have ice cream for like 10 minutes, I can think clearly. And then the sugar sets in and I get cranky. But if your mind is clear at this moment, for a little tiny moment, you think, it's not that he's not different from you. There is no he. Got it? It's not that he's helping you. Because that's still he and you. You see? There is no he and you. There's just me. And it's 2 bodies. Big. It has 4 legs want to buy me shoes, how many do you have to buy? 4. If you want gloves, you have to buy 4. If you want ice cream, you have to buy 2. You see, that's just the way it is. You know, how many earmuffs do you have to buy now? For just you know, before you walk into this church, how many earmuffs did you have to buy? A pair. A pair. Enough to cover 2 ears, right? Did you ever complain about having to buy a pair of pants? Did you ever go to Lucky Jeans and say, could I just have some jeans with only one leg? You know? Could you just give me some jeans with only... Do you have any jeans that only have one leg? You know, they're like, why? Because my legs are separate. And they say, but then you have to buy another pair for the other leg. Why not just buy a pair? A pair of 2 legs for one body. You see? And you don't think that's strange to buy a, what? Pair of jeans. Nobody goes to the store and says, why are you trying to sell me a pair of jeans? I just want one leg jeans. You know? Nobody does that. Why? Because you believe in your heart that you have to cover both legs. You know, you go walking down the mountain and you have a one-legged pair of jeans, or end up like Ron Howard when he landed on the cactus the other day. You know, now you have a new idea. Here's a new idea. If you truly understand that to get any of the money you ever got in your life, it was only because you shared your money with others, then how many hands do I have now with the taxi driver? 4 hands have to count money. 4 hands have to have money passed through them. Get it? It's not more weird than a pair of jeans. When you understand that, when you act naturally as if you had 4 hands with your money, then you understand this book. And then you understand the way the world really is. And we're so far away from that, you see? We're so far away from that. Okay? Got it? When you automatically go to the store and say, I need four gloves, you know, then you're there. You see, you're there. Because you're not a different person. There is no 2 people. There's only one. And he needs 4 gloves. Got it? It's not that you're being nice to somebody else. Forget that. They are you. And there's only one you. And then I love this thing about how in the future language, there's going to be a problem with language. What do you call that? What's he going to say to me when we get to the zoo? I need money? I have money. Give me money? I have money. I have money. That's okay. Got it? You can't say give because give assumes 2 people. You see, give assumes 2 different people. The verb will drop out of all language. There will be no more verbs in language. I have money. I have money. You can't grasp it, okay? You can't even grasp it. There will come a time when there will be no need for words which express any kind of interchange between 2 different people, because there are no 2 different people, and there never were. We made it up. It's a disease of the mind. It's a fantasy. It's an illusion. It's never been that way. We just think it's that way. It's not that way. It's not that way. I can't get any money unless I take care of her. So she's me. Got it? It's always been like that. We just in a temporary, like, I don't know, what do you call it? Dumbhead. Okay. It's a temporary state of dumbhead that will go away. In the world, it will go away. And language itself will change, and it will be cool. I mean, people who love languages, it will be so cool when you can say, I'm money. And that means we have, or we need, or we're giving, or it doesn't, there won't be any that. Because people will just be one. There's no words for that. Okay?
Page 4. Now you'll have to realize, my mind, that I'm a person who belongs to everyone else. From this moment on, you are not allowed to have a single thought about anything other than what serves the purposes of every living being. From now on, you will have to give up the idea that you have anything to work for yourself. I have sold you now to others. Don't be discouraged. Now earn your keep. These are very sweet verses. It's fun to teach Master Shantideva because he's so incredibly poetic, but at the same time he's so razor edged, you know? Like he cuts to the heart of the matter. He's talking about emptiness in such a profound way, in such a profound day-to-day, actual, in your life kind of way. At the same time that he, you know, waxes very perfectly. So, say now you're convinced, okay? You're convinced that you have to do this Daksha Yamte thing. You're like, okay, where do I go? Where do I start? How do I sign up? Like, you convinced me all of my fear, all of my suffering, it comes from holding on to myself and grasping onto myself, and I'm ready to let it go, and I'm ready to break down the walls of my heart, and I'm ready to wrap my mind around other people, and how do I go about doing that? And then this is the hard part. This is the place where we learn how to recondition our minds. And it's just about habit, you know? It's just about doing things over and over until they become habitual, because right now we are accustomed, we are habituated to thinking of only ourselves all the time, constantly, day after day. And we need to change that. We need to completely reverse it like 180 degrees and just constantly think about other people and what they want and what they need. And just give yourselves to them completely. So, you know, we started teaching this. I remember we were teaching this in New York, and then people were starting to get kind of scared because, you know, Geshe talks about not 2 gloves, but 4 gloves, and it's like, but yeah, we're supposed to do this with everyone. So let's see, how many people are in the church? How many hands do we have? How many gloves do we have to buy or go to the store? And it starts to get, you know, overwhelming. Like, I don't have that much money for that many gloves for all the people in the church tonight. You see? Or like, well, what am I supposed to do if I'm giving myself to others? Am I supposed to just, you know, leave my house in Tucson and quit my job and like fly to Burma and go protest, you know, against the unfair killings there? Or maybe I'm supposed to leave my job in Tucson and go fly to Iraq and be a medic for all of the Iraqi soldiers that have been killed. Or maybe I should go, you know, and there's like so many different things that a person who's dedicating themselves to others can do. And where do we start? Because we're only one body at this time. You know, later you'll get others, don't worry. But right now, right now, we're just one. And we're limited. We're limited by our perception of ourselves as a single body. Right? So the first thing that comes is like panic. Like, I can't do it. There's too many people in the church and I can't make them all me. You know, and it's like, no, it's not wrong. So that's the first thing that comes. And the second thing is like, what do I do? You know, there's too many choices. How do I serve people? Where do I go? Where do I put this one body that's going to serve, you know, that's going to make everybody else me? How do I throw myself in it? And really, it's not that complicated. It's not that complicated. Because it all starts up here, you know, it all starts in your mind. It's not about changing your location. It's not about getting panicky or overwhelmed because you have too many obligations or responsibilities already and now you have to take on 150 more people. It's just a shift in your perception, how you go throughout the day. Just a simple shift in your perception from the moment that you wake up in the morning. You are changing the way that you view the world around you, right? Says, I have sold you now to others, you know. You wake up in the morning and your first thought in the morning is, I'm yours. What would you have me do? How can I serve you today? And you place your feet down on the floor, and you let that thought lead your feet where they need to go. It's not the thought, what I want. It's the thought, what do you need from me today? What do you need from me today? I was a long time ago, I was sleeping in Howell, New Jersey, in the room of a very great Buddhist practitioner. And I had come in very late at night and she was already sleeping and I was supposed to sleep on the floor. And I was trying to be quiet, but I woke her up. And she was half asleep. Totally, she's totally groggy, half asleep, because she gets at the dawn into her practices or whatnot. And she like not even her eyes are not even all the way open, and she goes, can I help you? Can I help you with something? And I always remember that, it was so beautiful. You know, for those of you who know her, her name is Maria Montenegro. And it was just so beautiful to have somebody who she's not even all the way awake, and she's like, I think she didn't even slur the words. Go back to bed, Maria, please. Thank you so much for your floor. That's how we have to be, you know? Like, our minds have to shift from our constant focus on what we want to, can I help you? You know, it's like sleepy, groggy, wake up, can I help you? It has to be so embedded in our consciousness that it's there even when we're only half conscious. And, you know, then you go to work or wherever you go during the day, and your focus has changed. You know, you are looking around at other people and you're watching their eyes and you're watching their faces and you're trying to figure out what you can do for them. And it could be as simple as getting somebody a cup of coffee, or it could be as simple as just listening to somebody, or it could be as simple as just leaving them alone. No, really, I mean, but that would be serving somebody if that's what they need right then. You know, it's just a matter of focusing on somebody else besides yourself, you know? And watching them, just watching them. And then slowly, when you start practicing this over and over and over, the walls between you and other people start to break down. And you start to get better at it. So it starts to become, I don't know, more graceful, almost like a dance. Like, you are so good at serving people that they don't even know you're serving them. Like, you're seamless at it. You're just like, the cup of coffee is on the desk and they don't even know who left it there. And they don't even have time to think about it. You know? And you don't make it obvious, it's just, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful art form, right? So, one last thing and then we'll take a break. Well, actually, then we'll probably have a pitch and then we'll take a break. If I'm not mistaken. Everything has to do with your intention. Everything is about intention. You know? Like, at any one interaction, you know, whether it's the interaction between the Morocco taxi driver and you, or it's an interaction between, like, I don't know, you're sitting outside eating a croissant and a sparrow comes down by your feet. You know, the interaction between you and this other living being and this sparrow. One of the arts of doing this practice is how to make every single interaction as meaningful as possible. Like how to get the most for your buck, I guess you could say, karmically, right? How to transform every experience to the highest possible goal, or the highest possible intention. And this is part of the practice of Geshe, you know. You are sitting there with your croissant, and the sparrow hops over by your table, and you know, you're a good Buddhist practitioner, you understand that there's a karmic ripening happening, right? There's a karmic ripening happening. It's a karmic seed is going off in your mind, and it's creating the you in the moment, and the sparrow in the moment. It's creating the entire picture, right? It's creating both the subject and the object. It's creating you, it's creating the sparrow, it's creating the interaction between you. It's a karmic ripening. It's an experience, right? And all of those things are empty, right? You don't have any nature of your own. The sparrow doesn't have any nature of their own. The interaction between you has no nature of its own, right? So, intention becomes everything, right? The sparrow came so that you could learn how to give. Or maybe it's a woodpecker, I don't know. Robert's and I were staying around, and he has woodpeckers like that wake us up at like, I don't know, 7 in the morning, right after Geshe left, right in bed at 3, after that's what a couple book has one last night. Obviously you're going to give the sparrow some of your croissant, right? I mean, that's an obvious thing. Because you know that you wants some croissant. You know, has hopped over to get some croissant. But what are you going to think about when you do it? What are you going to think about when you do it? Yes. Many different ways of looking at the world, you know. This sparrow is coming to teach me how to give. This sparrow is my teacher. This sparrow must be some kind of, I don't know, holy being that has entered my reality. And then you make your croissant, throw it as an offering. Okay? Or you can say, this sparrow is coming because we have a karmic connection, and little one, you will be my teacher. You know, you will be my student in your next life. And if you take this piece of croissant and then you trick them into eating it, and so many different things you can do with one little piece of croissant in a moment of time, in an interaction between two different people who are actually one.
We're going to hand out some impact cards. Maybe you can split up. Then I'm going to sell you a Brooklyn Bridge. How to start? When I started studying in the monastery, it was 1973 in India, and I guess 35 years ago. And teacher, Geshe. I asked him to teach me, and I went to his room, and he opened the book, these big, long Tibetan books. And then I was watching him, but the book is upside down for me, right? And he would read the book, he would point to the words, and he would say, I remember the day that I first understood the first word. It was Gyalpo. It was king. He said Gyalpo, and he pointed to R-G-Y-A-L-P-O, and he pointed to the word, and I saw the word, and I understood what it meant. And I got really excited, And then, so I asked him, Geshe, some of the refugees, they're selling books. Can I get this book? Can I buy the book? Because it's a little hard. I always have to read it upside down on the table, And he said, this book was burned. All the copies of this book were burned in Tibet. In Tibet, there were 5,000 libraries in Tibet, in the country of Tibet. Everyone was burned. All the books were burned in Tibet. You see? It's hard to imagine, like, if someone came to America and they undertook to burn all the libraries in America. I mean, try to imagine that. Okay? All the books are gone. You say, I would like to read some Shakespeare, or I would like to read some science fiction, or I need to read the Bible right now. And they say, I'm sorry, it's been burned. And that's how it was when I started studying. He had written the book out from memory, and that's all there was. And they didn't have money. They wrote it on. They mixed cow urine with chocolate, and they wrote it with that. They didn't have money for me, And so that was how we started. And then, I came home. I was still going to college, and I went around to all the dormitories and got people to give clothing, and we sent clothing to the refugees. And there was this really cute note that came back. They said, those shoes that you sent, that your friends sent, they're really good for going up mountains, but they're really bad for going down mountains. And they were high heel shoes. You see? And this is from a monk, it's like that. But it's really, that was how it was. And then my teacher and myself, we started to support monks. We started with 5 monks in Varanasi, and we started to send them money every month, and we supported them. And then we made a business, and the business was very successful. Then we ended up supporting thousands and thousands of people. But what we found out, I remember one day we went to the monastery in India, and someone had just given a $10,000 check. They had sold their stocks and given us the money. So we made an announcement at the monastery. We said, anyone who has a medical problem, who has had an operation or medication or doctor's bills, if you can bring the bill to the monastery offices upstairs in the temple, if you can bring the bill here tomorrow, we'll give you the money. And so the next day there was a line. It was about a mile long. And there were thousands of monks in the line. And it was a weird day, like they came in one by one and they showed us their bills and we just gave them the money. And by evening we had given away the $10,000. And we were exhausted, and we found out you have to keep the receipt or else sometimes it comes back again and stuff like that. And then we started talking and we said, it doesn't work so well just to give away money to people. Because also we would give money to poor people, the refugees, and they would lose the money, or they would invest the money and it would get stolen, or they couldn't do accounting very well. And then there was always this, welfare mentality in the back of their mind. They thought, if I run out of money, I'll just call Geshe and I'll get more money for us, And they didn't want to do anything. And then we got a grant to teach them soy farming and to make soy, tofu. And we got a nice grant. And then they just weren't interested because it was too much work, because they could just get free money. And then we changed. I remember one day we changed and we said, we had an idea. We said, we'll put computers in the monastery. First I went to Bangkok and I found these people, these Buddhists who were typing in Thai Buddhist texts. The king was sponsoring it. And I saw how they typed in the text. Then I went to Korea and I saw the same thing. Then I came to the monastery. and I invited the board of directors to Bangalore, to a hotel. I got them out of the monastery in a hotel. And I paid for everybody's rooms. And the abbot slept in my room. It was really weird. And because at like 5 in the morning, he stood up on his bed and he started making prostrations on the bed. You know, and I said, you know, Ken would say, what are you doing? Because I'm doing my morning prostrations. You know, I said, well, why on the bed? You know, and he said, it's more comfortable. But it was a weird night. But then the next morning I had this big meeting and I said, you're going to type in your holy books. We're going to put computers in the monastery and we're going to train the monks. And you're going to save all the ancient books. Like, a few copies got out of Japan, we can get some from Russia, we can get copies from Japan, we can get copies from Beijing. We can get copies that weren't burned, and then you're going to type them in. And I'll pay you to do, we'll pay you to do the work, and we'll stop the welfare, you know. We'll pay you to do the work, you know. And then I had this, what do you call it? Ace in the hole. And I said, by the way, I was just in Thailand and Korea, and if you don't do it, they're going to do it. And they'll get all the money, because I'm not spending money here anymore. And then, boom, it was approved the same day. And we started. This is 21 years ago. And now that has spread throughout the refugee community. And the way it worked out was that once the Tibetan women started to type in the refugee camps, they out-typed the monks like 3 to 1. You know, they're 3 times faster and more accurate than the monks, right? So gradually we moved all the work out of the monastery. Now it's all in the refugee camps, and it's almost all women now. So I don't know, we have a lot of women working in the refugee camps, and they've typed I think about 1 million pages so far, and it all goes up free on the web. We give it away free on the web, so they get paid and they support their families for 20 years from this typing. We are 2% finished. We are 2% finished with Tibetan literature. It will take another 150 years to finish the books that we know that we have. So that's like the good news, and it's going really well. We went to the grocery store in near John Brady's house, Upper East Side, New York, very wealthy area. We went to the grocery store late at night. We wanted some oranges, you know. We put the oranges on the counter. There was this oriental-looking lady behind the counter, and she rang us up. She goes like, ooh, and then she looks at her friend and she goes, how did you do it? Then I said, oh, are you Tibetan? She said, yeah. And I said, well, how, you know, where are you from? She said, oh, you don't know, you wouldn't understand, you wouldn't know. You know? I said, how did you get to the United States? You know, because the Tibetans can't get in. She said, I have a special visa. You know, it's a visa because I know have special skills. So what skills? She says, I'm really good at computers. You know, I can do anything with a computer. You know, so I got a special visa. You know, so I said, wow, how did you learn that? She says, well, I'm from this little town called Hudson in India. You know, I said, oh, well, what's special? Well, we have this special building, and all the women in the town, Tibetan women, they go there and they type ancient texts in all day. And that's where I learned, you know. And there's this beautiful American man that's been filming it for years, you know. And we're all like going, wow, you know, this is a true story. This is a true story. So anyway, it goes like that. I mean, it's changed the world. And so that's the good news. The bad news is we used to have grants from Hewlett-Packard to start the place. Then we moved to government grants. When those dried out, we moved to Wall Street, and almost all our funding has come from Wall Street in recent years. And then it just collapsed. There's 150,000 people in Wall Street without work today. They're just without work. They don't have nothing. You know, so suddenly it's gone, and we haven't paid the Tibetans now for a month, more than a month. We can't pay them anything. You know, so they're still working, they're still going, but they're not getting any money. I go to bed, I have bad dreams, I'm worried about the Tibetans. I'm worried about what will happen to their books and things like this, things that could help many people. And I worry about that. And so Wall Street, you know, there's nothing left in America. You know? Then I had this idea. It's like the Morocco thing, you know, like, you can give $300 for a band in Morocco, and you're not going to be in a problem when you get home, you know. You're not going to starve when you get back to Tucson. You know, you'll be okay. We'll all be okay. You know, nobody in this room is going to starve. You know, those women can feed their families right now. So we came up with this idea that we would ask people to adopt one of the women, right? Like, if somebody came with some cards, different cards. Jigme came with cards. She said, let's ask everybody for $50 or $60. I said, no. You know? Let's talk bigger. Let's talk serious. You know? We're going to ask you to adopt one of them. Okay? So, your family adopts one of the women. Forever. You know? You don't give a donation. Don't want a donation. You don't want a $50, $60 donation. Not asking that. At all. She still wants me to do it. I'm not doing it. No. You say, you do this circle thing, right? You do Daksha Yonji. You exchange yourself with them. They are very poor, they cannot feed their families. We're on the worst economy, we're still overweight. You know? So adopt one. Get people to adopt one. Right? You adopt one of the women. For as long as she works there, and I warn you, some of them have been working there for 20 years. They don't quit easily. You know? For as long as they work there, they are part of my family. I will pay her wages until she stops working. Either she gets too old or she leaves or whatever. But I will support her wages and her family. And I will adopt them as part of my family. That's our shtick tonight. That's the card we have. You know? It's $100 a month. If you adopt a family, it's $100 a month. Then we talked it over and we said, nobody's going to give $100 a month in Tucson. So, instead of being head of the family, let's tell them you can be a member of the family and you give $25 a month. So 4 people give $25 a month to support one woman and her family. And you adopt them. You're not giving a donation, you're adopting them. You're deciding that they are your family. You are deciding they are you. So it's a different thing. You're not giving money to somebody else. It's money they already deserve because they are part of your family. Got it? You're not making a donation. They belong to your family. And they will until the day you die. Are you willing to try something like that? Are you willing to take another person into your family? Much cheaper than the people in your family now. Much cheaper than a kid, right? People have kids, you know. $25 a month or something. But I'm doing something radical. We're doing something radical. Will you accept them into your family? You know? Will you take their children as your children? And that means you can't stop. Yeah, she has a, what do you call it? Disclaimer?
Not me.
You have it out. You know? If you go into a 3-year retreat or something, and you can't get $25 a month, then it's your responsibility to give away that person to another family. You have to get someone to adopt them. You know? You have to get someone else to adopt them before you go into your retreat or whatever like that. Like that. But you can't stop. Okay? As long as the person is working, you can't stop. That's all. You commit because they are part of your family. Okay? And then people, I just want to make a general comment about the economy. Okay? Like I spent my life in corporate economics, right? And I'll tell you something, you know, the whole American system has always been flaky. You know, this whole idea of just keep borrowing money and keep the company going and selling things cheaper than it costs to make them is crazy. You know, it had to collapse. It was bound to collapse. It couldn't do anything else than collapse. It's crazy. The whole thing about borrowing money and just keeping the debt going, our company kept alive by continually borrowing money that we could never pay back, and everybody knew it. The banks knew it and we knew it. But they want the company to keep going so you can give them dividends. You know? So you keep borrowing, and it has to collapse. So what do you do now? You know? What I wanted to say is, don't be afraid. Like, don't get all worried. You know, this thing in America. We were in New York on Black Wednesday. You know, oh my God. You know, you couldn't go into a grocery store. Everyone's like, I don't know if I should buy an apple. You know, my 401k just collapsed. You know, like this. Don't think like that. Okay. Money comes from giving money away. Money comes from giving money away. Americans have gotten lazy at what? Giving money away. They used to be really good at it. You know, foreign aid, and it used to be major bucks. Churches used to give away lots of money. And now Americans just got selfish. So of course their economy collapsed. You see, in a Buddhist terms, the minute you stop giving, then no more money will flow in your country. You see? And the Chinese, who 50 years ago made a policy that there will not be a poor person in China, everyone will be fed, everyone will have a job. Of course they're enjoying unprecedented, prosperity, because they took responsibility for everybody. So, in times like this, right, people like us, people who came to this church, right, who have some kind of brain on their shoulders, right, they have to open up, and they have to be fearless, you know, they have to say, everyone else is like, I don't know if I can do this adopt thing, you know, can I do 50 cents a month, you know? And you're like, by the way, you can. No, if you want to, we have a, what do you call it, ringleader in Anchorage and Mama Aura. Where's it? Stand up. They're like ringleaders. So they're going to say like, we just did this talk in Mexico. So like all these Mexican people said, I have 10 pesos, and can I give 10 pesos a month? Can I give $1 a month? You know? And so they connected them up, you know, like 100 of them will support one lady. So if you want to do a stick like that, if you're wimpy and you want to do a stick like that, that's okay. You can put $1 a month on the card. 10 pesos if you want to put 10 pesos, that's okay. But in times like this, intelligent people, spiritual people, they have to open up, and they have to be brave, and they have to be examples for other people, and they have to put their money where their mouth is. You know, they have to say, you know, I believe that giving is where money comes from. I am so sure that I will commit. You know, I will give. And then all the other people around you are afraid. You know, they're all like talking after the game. There's a cocktail party somewhere, right? And they're all talking about how they're going to invest their money, or how much money they lost, how they're going to have to cut back, and how they're going to have to watch their expenses now. And they're having that kind of cocktail party. And we're in the church. The people who understand how things work, they're in the church. And they're having the opposite conversation. How can I give more money? You know? If I don't give it, if I keep the money for myself, what did the verse say? What did the verse say? If I keep it for myself, what do I give to other people? That's their problem. You see, that's angel dharma. What's the devil dharma? Devil dharma is, if I give it away, well, what am I going to have? You know? And then the angel dharma is, well, God, if I keep it, well, what am I going to give away? You know? So, you know, these times, be brave and be an example for the people. We have to anchor the society. People who understand where things come from. Now, in hard times, they are the anchor for the rest of our country, right? So just do it, okay? And I don't care, give it, adopt one of these ladies, or just go do some other charitable thing. It really doesn't matter, okay? But just be more giving than you were before the stock market went down, okay? Then that's the real way to help your country. That's the real way to help this country. You know, be brave and give. And it doesn't have to be these Tibetan people. Whoever if you want to get to Mexican people or Moroccan people, or it can't be yourself, okay? That's the only thing. Right? But give, okay? And we'll turn this economy around, got it? Okay, so we'll take a break. Write something down, come up and offer it on the altar. And they'll say, I can do $1 a month, here's my I'm not interested in someone come up and put $100. Not interested. Okay? Or like that. Don't do that. Okay? If you can commit to something, for as long as the woman works. By the way, we also have a pension plan for them. We are helping them for their retirement and stuff like that. And all the accounting is being done by a Mandarin who doesn't even know he's doing it yet, which is key. And I think since Anna's attached there, she might get into the fundraising for women thing. So, but Guy is just finishing his degree in accounting, right? Close. And I think it's a good time for him to get the experience. So like that. So it's also practical. Anyway, anybody who would like to talk to us about your special partner problem, come up and we'll tell you about ours. And then we'll help each other. Okay? So we'll take a break. Thank you. I want to thank everyone who brought cookies and brownies up. I got 2 and she didn't see. That's like better than ever. And we'd like to thank the Singh family for the beautiful, we got beautiful scarves. This is Indian custom for when people teach. So, I'm not going to do a hula dance. Okay, here's the next verse. You will take care of others. Watch them quietly and then snatch away any particular thing that I have in my possession and give it away to them. And you will not do all this in some crude manner, like a bull in a china shop. You will accomplish it subdued with the self-conscious trepidation that you find in a new wed bride. So, if you ever worked in a big office like I did, or you ever had a lama, especially a Tibetan one like I did, then, and actually my working years and my lama years were the same years. So, I was under lama, what do you call it? Lama dictatorship at night. Lama says go out and mow the lawn, but you can't negotiate with the lama. You have to go mow the lawn, And then you mow the lawn, you come in, you're exhausted, you wake up the next morning, 6 o'clock, you commute 2 hours into Manhattan. And then your boss tells you the same thing, go finish the JCPenney account, and that's the worst account and the crummiest people, and you can't say no. So my whole life for like 20 years was, during the day I can't say no, and at night I can't say no. Now it's combined into one person. But I can't say no. But what you learn in business and what you learn living with a Tibetan Lama is how to treat them. You learn how to ask for stuff that you want. So like, if from your Lama you want to take a day off and go to the beach at Asbury Park, you don't never ask the Lama before dinner. You always ask right after dinner. And you always make momos that night. Momo is a Tibetan national food. It's a meat dumpling. It takes about 2 hours to make if you use a blender, and it takes about 4 hours to make if you don't use a blender. And my Lama said, blenders make it taste bad. So, momos is a 4-hour thing, And then I would make momos. Basically, you learn how to butter your Lama up, you see? And then you make a big momo dinner, and you go up, and you wait till they have like 10 of them. And then you say, how's the momos Rinpoche good? I was thinking about good, is your person okay? And you say, what? And you say, okay, thanks. And like that, And the boss at work is the same, You just have to get some, I don't know, what do you call it? Some distance from them. And you have to observe them. And when is their good mood? Everybody has a cycle. We learned that from Susan Stump in Chinese medicine class. You know, there's a cycle throughout the day of your moods and your emotions. Like some people are particularly grumpy when they wake up in the morning. And some people are really happy right after much too many cookies or brownies, you know, like that. For a short time, they're really happy. So if you have any kind of boss, whether it's your partner or your work boss or your mama, you know to watch for an opening. You know how to watch for a sweet moment, you know. And with Rinpoche, sometimes you have to wait for 3-4 days. And with my boss at work, sometimes you have to wait for 2 weeks, you know. Just, you know the right moment to ask for a raise. You know, like you get them, you work on some project, you make the company an extra $500,000, you know, you bring in the report, you even wait till his eye reaches halfway down the page to the profit margin thing, and then you ask for a vacation. You know, and then you ask for a raise, and he's like, sure, sure, what'd you say? And you're like already down the hall. You know, like, so you have to wait for the good moment, and you have to know when the person is in a good mood to ask for something special. Now, as a bodhisattva, who are you waiting to see if they're in a good mood? Yourself. Okay? Yourself. Alright? Like what? Like what? Like this, okay? We're gonna get $100 a month out of Geshe Michael. For what? He's gonna support the whole family. He's gonna adopt the whole family in one of the infant centers, right? Well, why doesn't he just decide? He's not in a good mood. He didn't get like any brownies or anything. You know? So we're not gonna ask him right now. We're gonna wait till he's in a really good mood, you know? So what makes Geshe Michael happy? I don't know. It's like if he finishes a computer project, or he gets a good Mexican dinner or something. Then right after that, for like 10 minutes, his mind is calm, and he doesn't have a new project yet. You know, for 10 minutes, there's space in 2 weeks when he's like at rest and at peace and still. And that's when you should ask him to give $100. You see? So you watch who? You watch? The Bodhisattva watches yourself. Okay? Why? Because the Bodhisattva knows the Bodhisattva is not strong enough to be a Bodhisattva. Most of the day. Okay? The Bodhisattva knows the Bodhisattva is not strong enough to be a Bodhisattva most of the day. We're going to have to wait until there's a good moment in the day when there's an opening. You know, when Geshe Michael's heart softens up for 10 minutes. Right after he finished the Jetson Copper project book. You know, he's going to be in a really excellent mood for 10 minutes before he gets on to the next project. You know? That's when we'll hit him up. For what? I don't know. Watch him. Get that $100 up. Swipe the $100 when he's not looking. You see? When he's in a really good mood, swipe the $100. Get him to make a commitment. Just after he had a big Mexican dinner. See if he'll make that commitment right there. Don't ask yourself now to be generous. Watch yourself till you're in a really good mood, and then swipe it. From who? Yourself. Got it? So usually, you know, dishonest people are watching other people. Like we're in Morocco, right? We're going to this square called, I forget what it's called, Del Far something, in Marrakesh. 10,000 people go there every night. And it's just this huge, like, market. Like, all till 1 in the morning. You can buy figs, you can buy nuts, you can buy a camel. You know, it's a huge square, public square, you know. You walk through that square with a backpack on, it's cleaned out by the time you reach the other side of the square. You know, like 40 urchin kids and 30 gypsy women, and they like cleaned out your back, and we were like that. They are watching you. For when are you careless? When are you not watchful? You know? And it's boom, it's gone. You don't even know it's gone. You just get home and you take off your backpack, it feels really light. And all the zippers are open and everything's gone, you know? So, because they are watching for an opening, right? So a Bodhisattva is doing the same thing, but he's trying to watch for an opening when the Bodhisattva is in a good mood, in a holy mood, in a sacred mood, in a spiritual mood, in a divine mood, you see? You're watching for a moment. Let's see. Oh look, Geshe he's talking about the refugees, he's getting all mushy. You know, let's ask him right now. Will you give $100? Sure. Yeah, I like that. And then you know, Geshe is home, he's like, oh my God, we already have $10,000 of debt. I don't know we're going to get $100, you know, but you committed. You committed, you know, in a generous mood you committed. So this is a practice. Take some distance from yourself. Learn when are your good moods, when are your soft moods, when are your holy moods, and then trick yourself into making beautiful commitments. Got it? Swipe the good things from the Bodhisattva when the Bodhisattva is feeling mushy. Got it? Like that. Okay? And get the good things out of it. Get the good commitments out of it when they're in a mushy mood. And then they're stuck with it because they're a Bodhisattva. They won't go back on it. You see? They're a Bodhisattva. Got it? This is a Shantideva trick. Master Shantideva trick. Got it? Watch yourself as if you were someone else, stealing goodness from you and making you the good. Okay? Because you're not strong enough most of the day. Got it? Cool.
Last page. The total amount of happiness that exists in the world has come from wanting to make others happy. The total amount of suffering that exists in the world has come from wanting to make yourself happy. All that time, I made myself unhappy trying to make myself happy. This time, I'll watch out for others, and finally watch out for myself. So we were talking these past 2 days about the line between ourselves and others. And, normally when we talk about karma, we talk about how much we need other people. Because, if we need money, for instance, we need other people to give to in order to get the money, right? We need other people. And, if we need good help, for instance, there's something wrong with our physical body, then we need somebody else who's not so healthy to take care of it in order to collect the good karma to get ourselves healthy, right? And, anything you need somebody else to get it for you. Like, you need someone to bounce the karma off. So, you do a karma towards somebody else, and then later that karma bounces back and comes back towards you, right? Just nod. That's what everybody says. Just nod. I know. It's like the last. I don't know. I always do this to you. I did it last night too. I just throw this kind of heavy stuff on you again. But anyway, wake up. So yeah, we're throwing the karma out and somebody is bouncing back towards us. You got that? Right? Because good. Because we got two different people. We've got ourselves and we got somebody else to perform the karma towards. But then we're coming along and we're saying, well, let's just erase that line between ourselves and other people. Let's just make everybody ourselves. So, if everybody's ourselves, then who are we going to bounce the karma off of? Like, what happens if we do good stuff for ourselves? Does it come back in the same way? What happens if the line between ourselves and others gets completely erased? No more karma. Yes. Yes, in a way, that's very true. Right? action, right? Or what else do we call it? Infinite, right? Infinite action. If you do a certain karma towards another person, like you give them money, for instance, then a certain amount of money will come back to you. And then that karma is finished. And then you have to keep doing it to get more money. And it's very limited. Like you limit yourself to helping one other person, and then you get a limited amount of karma back. You get a limited amount of money back. But if you are raised, if you understand that every single other person that exists in this world is just a projection of your own mind, it's just a creation of your own karmic seeds, the same way that your own body and mind is. If you understand that we are all coming from the same place, that it's all, just like we talked about with the bird, it's all one karmic reckoning, right? We are all, you and everybody in this church and everybody in the entire world is all coming from this tiny drop inside of your heart, right? It's all coming from the same source. If you start to understand that, and if you start to get the feeling that because of that, then we are all one body. We are all one being. Then whenever you do something to help somebody else, the action becomes a limitless action. It becomes an infinite action. And instead of bouncing off and coming back at you in a very small, limited way, it's like dropping a stone inside a pond and seeing the ripples ripple out all the way to the ends of the universe. I mean, it affects everything. It affects everything. And yeah, then it's no longer called karma. Ari was right. You know, it's called a collection. And this is how we create our own paradise. Right? This is how we change the entire world with single small actions during the day. Right? We make our actions limitless. It's not about how much you can do during the day, it's about how you do it. It's about how you think about, what you think about when you're doing it, you know? Break down the walls between yourself and other people. And one tiny act of nonviolence could stop a war in another country. It's a beautiful practice, right? It's a beautiful practice. This stretching the line to encompass everybody in the world, and thinking of them all as yourself. It's like a theme song, Dr. Nante's theme song. Alright, that's really all I have to say. Yeah, that's all you have. Anyway, please practice it. You know, please free yourself from fear and become a being of light as soon as possible. be back at the ranch.
Okay, we just want to make a few thank yous before I go home.
You're welcome.
Well, all the people, please stand up. Rob, your singer, and please, if I say your name, please stand up. Here you go. Andrea Landa, Jackie Fisher, David White, Jerome G, Rob Ho,
Jerome G.
Venerable Yelsey, Venerable Chucky. Please, you have to do quick. Venerable Julie Upton, Lauren Jamie, Nicole Sanderson, Melissa Shishadri, Rebecca, Mercedes, Lauren Mitchell, Scott Basic, and Bess Greer. These are, so this is how many people almost it takes to run this whole event. So please give all of these people a hand. Thank you. There's James here on the outside, the sexton. He's our beautiful caretaker. Just kind of flat him. I think he's outside the door. And pretty much all summer I went to Asia and then went to retreat into Mexico. And basically did the whole thing. So let's say very quick, everyone close your eyes real quick. And imagine the ocean. And offer it up to Lana Christie. And imagine out of the ocean something pops up. And open your eyes. That's the closest we got to the ocean today. So we want to offer this to represent the ocean for you. It's a fish. It's a koi. What?
I bet you. Baby dolphin.
Close your eyes again. Everyone imagine ice cream. Open your eyes. Baskin Robbins. At Broadway Camino Seco, they have a sorbet. So when I got the shirt, I thought, oh, someone else is going to like that one too. So we had an awesome time in Tokyo this summer.
Yes.
So I think they would have to share this. But this is for Lama. I'm not going to say it. But it's a subway map of Tokyo. So please teach, please stay. If you want to say it, I'll say it anyway. And what's been happening with we almost took this talk actually to, we were just going to move it to another state. And for some reason it keeps coming here. No matter what we do, there's something about, there's something about Tucson. And I sense in this teaching that it's like they're bringing us step by step up these beautiful teachings. So all of you please keep returning and asking for the teachings. So that's all. Thank you. Okay.